Please adhere to YouTube's selected guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during the video. All actions are performed by professionals.
Alright, so today I'm going to be smoking and reviewing the Cheyenne Red Cigarettes from the United States, which are a full-flavored smoke, as one may expect. But what is Cheyenne as a brand? Well, Cheyenne is a heavy discount budget brand of cigarettes from the United States, which is owned and produced by the Cheyenne International Tobacco Company, an American budget tobacco producer. And while I don't know exactly when Cheyenne as a brand and nameplate was first introduced into the American market, I do know that Cheyenne International as a company was first founded in 2002, and so we can infer that this brand came soon after that. Today, from what I can tell, Cheyenne as a brand is more popular than not within regions where it is sold. And that mainly comes down to the deep discount budget category that Cheyenne does indeed fill, as these are some of the cheapest cigarettes on the market in places where they're sold. But are they actually any good? Well, I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out. Let me tell y'all what. Thank you so much to Fred Scott for having been kind enough to contribute this pack of cigarettes to the channel for me to smoke and make a review of. I really do appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to giving these cigarettes a go, and I'm looking forward to letting y'all know just what I think of them as well. But I do suppose without further ado, I should probably go ahead and quickly cover the packaging of this pack. Then after that, I'm thinking I should probably go ahead and get these cellophane all off, go ahead and get the pack all opened up, go ahead and take a look at what the cigarettes themselves actually look like, what they feel like, what the quality is like, what they smell like, and then after that, I'm thinking I should probably go ahead and get one of the Cheyenne Red cigarettes all lit up and actually find out how these actually are for the first time. And once I'm done smoking, I'm going to give you guys my final thoughts on this pack, and I'm going to give this pack a rating as well. But first off, as said, we've got to start with the packaging, which overall is a more budget look than not, but is not a bad budget look by any means. Overall, I personally think that I'd have to say aesthetics-wise, this pack looks pretty solid. Doesn't look particularly expensive, looks more budget than not in my personal opinion, but looks pretty solid overall if you ask me. And functionality-wise, from a distance, do I think these are pretty solid? I'd have to say they're pretty good. They're not like the best functionality-wise, but I do think they get the job done, and if you know what you're looking for, you're going to be able to find these very easily. And from a distance, I also think it's pretty clear that these are indeed a budget cigarette, which I'm sure is intentional. But let's go ahead and now start covering the details of the packaging. And we can see going around the design in the center right here, there is indeed a white border just going all the way around just like that. And that white border goes all the way around to the back as well. And so as such, it can be argued that the design stretches around the packaging to an extent at least, which is something that I love to see. Inside the white border, there is I'd have to say black border right there, and then there's a gold border, and then inside of that gold there's a little bit more black, and then it goes to a dark sort of burgundy, almost sort of wine red that gets a little bit lighter down here, and then we can see there's a design made up of dark and light red right there as well, along with a little bit of a sun right there. Let's go ahead and start off with the text on the front of the top of the packaging before I cover what the design actually looks like and whatnot. And we can see it just says made in the USA right there, just trying to be proudly made in the United States, of course. Most cigarettes that are made in the United States, or most cigarettes that are sold in the United States are made in the United States. So this isn't really anything super special, I will acknowledge, but it's nonetheless something that they want to make sure you know. They want to make sure you know that these are made in the United States, so you're supporting America when you buy these cigarettes. They want to make sure you know, and they're doing a good job of letting you know that is for sure. Below that, we can see the dark red background starts getting a little bit lighter, and we can see in a sort of goldish color right here, there is a little bit of a sun, I want to say, and right below the sun, we can see it just says Cheyenne or Cheyenne or Cheyenne. I'll acknowledge I have a lot of trouble pronouncing Cheyenne. I have a lot of trouble pronouncing the name of this cigarette brand, I'm not gonna lie. So if I get it wrong throughout the video, it's my bad. I'm just really bad at pronouncing this word, I will admit. But, yep, just says Cheyenne right there. And that is in a pretty basic, like not super stylized font, I'd have to say. However, we can see that the text itself is white. And going around the white text, there is a black border. And around that black border, there is a gold border. And then under that, there is a black drop shadow as well. So this text right here definitely does pop a little bit more so than not due to that. Under the Cheyenne text for the logo itself, right in the middle, we can see it just says premium right there in white once again. And then under that, it just says red right there in a little bit of a different font. And then under that, it just says 20 Class A cigarettes right there in a very big, bold gold text. And that's all the text there really is to the front of the packaging. This text right here is definitely very indicative, or I don't think that's really the right way of putting it. This text right here on the front of the packaging definitely screams budget cigarettes in my personal opinion, because a lot of budget cigarettes in the United States really like to tout that they're Class A cigarettes and stuff like that, when in fact that's a meaningless phrase essentially, because while there are two different classes of cigarettes in the United States, technically speaking, they're not based on quality or how high quality the tobacco itself on the inside is, or what the production standards are, or anything like that kind of thing. Class A cigarettes aren't based on that, it's based on weight. Class A cigarettes are a lower weight than Class B cigarettes, and Class B cigarettes are taxed at a higher rate than Class A cigarettes, and all cigarettes sold in the American market today are Class A cigarettes. And so as such, this is essentially meaningless text, but a lot of people don't realize what Class A cigarettes really means. And so they might be thinking that these are actually higher quality cigarettes than they really are because they're Class A cigarettes, when in fact all cigarettes sold in America are Class A cigarettes today. But yep, a lot of budget brands like to tout that and make it seem like these cigarettes are more than they really are, when it really isn't anything special, or this sort of designation isn't really anything special in all honesty. But moving on once again to the background, we can see as the Cheyenne logo gets a little bit lower, the background, which starts off as a sort of dark burgundy up here, gets a little bit lighter as well, until it gets to, I'd have to say, a mildly bright red color, although definitely not like super bright red. But we can see the design once it gets to that, then all of a sudden gets a little bit darker once again, because we have a horizon line, and there's a bunch of very nice little mountains in the desert and stuff like that kind of thing. I don't exactly know what those are called, but you see these sorts of things in, like, what is it, like Wyoming, maybe Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, stuff like that kind of thing. I'm not exactly sure where you see these, what state in specific, but either way, this design is very indicative of that of a Western feel. And so as such, I really do think that with this packaging, they're trying to make people feel like they're buying a good old Western cigarette and everything like that kind of thing, even though Cheyenne as a brand is from North Carolina, which I find pretty amusing. So this is not a cigarette made out in the desert by any means, but they're definitely going for the whole sort of Marlboro marketing, where it's like the good old cowboy, old Western stuff and everything like that kind of thing. They're trying to go with that whole same sort of marketing with this packaging, and overall, I think it does a pretty good job of giving that impression. And is there anything else I want to cover? There's some shadows kind of going down there, and it gets a little bit darker towards the bottom once again, but yep, that's pretty much all there is to the design on the front of the packaging. Overall, looks pretty solid for a budget pack of cigarettes in my personal opinion, and is a surprisingly complex design as well, which is something that I do appreciate, especially since the design itself, while it is more complex than not on the background, the text itself is quite simple, and so it's not super overwhelming, although maybe there is a bit much going on for my personal preference. I've certainly seen much more overwhelming packs of cigarettes before, though, I will acknowledge. But yep, that's pretty much all there is to the front of the packaging. Overall, I don't mind the packaging by any means, I will acknowledge, and I think for a budget pack of cigarettes, it looks pretty good. Let's go and take a look at the back of the packaging, which we can see is quite literally exactly the same as the front. Really nothing to cover, in all honesty, because it's the exact same design. Yeah, literally anything to cover? Nope. It is the exact same design. Yep, that's the back of the packaging. Let's go ahead and move on to this side of the packaging. We can see it just says underage still prohibited right there on a white background in black. Then we just get the Surgeon General warning right there, which just says, Surgeon General warning, smoking by pregnant women may result in fetal injury, premature birth, and low birth weight. Well, good thing I'm not a fetus, and good thing I'm not a pregnant woman, so I don't have to worry about that. Yep. No concern of mine, I will acknowledge. Moving on to the other side, we can see this is an informational side, just letting us know who these cigarettes are made by and what these are. Just says Cheyenne Premium right there in a bold black. And then under that, it just says manufactured by Cheyenne International LLC, Grover, North Carolina, 28073. And then it just says copyright 2010, Cheyenne International LLC. It says copyright 2010. I hope that's just the last time the copyright was brought on because, well, I'll admit I don't think these cigarettes are from 2010. In fact, I actually know they aren't because these are FSC compliant cigarettes, which first became a thing in 2012. Then it just has their website under that, and then under that it just says sale only allowed in the United States. And then to the side of that just has the barcode right there, FSC compliancy, of course, so we know that this pack was made after 2012, although I figure it's probably a more recent pack of cigarettes than not, probably from the last year or two, if not even sooner than that, I'm thinking. And yep, that's all that's going on this side of the packaging. Pretty much just informational, just letting us know what's going on with this pack. Moving on to the top, we can see it says Cheyenne Premium Box, or Red Box, right there. Just says Cheyenne in red with a, let's see, gold border, then premium with no border, and then red with a border. And one thing I forgot to mention about the front of the packaging is that the red text itself right there has a black border, just like it does on the top of the packaging. But yeah, pretty basic look, just letting us know exactly what these are. And moving on to the bottom, we can see it's the exact same thing, except we also get an Indiana tax stamp, as that's where this pack of cigarettes was purchased. And we can also see there's a little bit of code, just says 30025J10C3. I'm not exactly sure what those numbers mean. Trying to think of any relevance of date code that those might make sense to. I know this pack was manufactured prior to 2025 because if I remember correctly, I think I got my hands on this pack prior to 2025, I think. So I know the 25 does not represent that, but J1... So J, it could technically be, so it says J, so A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. So that would be the 10th month of the year. So that would be quite possibly, maybe, what's the 10th month of the year? January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, November. So it would be... No, wait. November is the 11th. What month did I miss? I'm not sure. But 10th month of the year, maybe 2021. I'm not exactly sure. It says J1, so I'm just thinking that's possible. I don't know exactly when these cigarettes were made, though. I will acknowledge. I can't say anything for sure. But yeah, that's pretty much all that's going on with the packaging overall. Pretty solid budget look in my personal opinion. Let's go and get this pack all opened up now. And, oh, I can smell them right off the bat. They definitely smell interesting, I will admit. I'm just gonna go and put the cellophane in my backpack real quick. Can't be littering, of course. And I'm just gonna see what the quality of this packaging is like. Overall, very much that of a printed paperboard texture. And overall, very solid average quality for a hard pack, hard corner box from the United States, in my opinion. Yep, solid quality packaging. And overall, does this pack look better with the cellophane off? I definitely have to say that it does, as is the case with 99% of packs that actually have designs and aren't plain packaging. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get this pack all opened up and let's take a look at the inside. We can see nothing going on the cigarette lid right there. Cigarette insert is a basic white cigarette insert, nothing particularly special. And we can see the foil itself is a silver foil that just says pull right there, off to one side. Let's go ahead and pull it out. And sadly did not pull out very cleanly, I will admit, but it's not a terribly big deal by any means. I'm gonna go and put this foil in my backpack. This foil has a sort of papery inside with a foily outside, I'd have to say. And before I go ahead and get one of the cigarettes out, I am real quick gonna take myself a little bit of a sip of water. Pretty nice Lexus RC 350 I'm seeing. I know the RC350 as a car is somewhat controversial. It looks like a sports car, but a lot of people don't consider it to really be one. I've never driven one myself, so I can't say whether I think they're a sports car or not, I will acknowledge. But I do know that I think they look pretty nice. I really like the styling of the RC350, I will acknowledge. I'm a fan of the styling. The LC500, of course, beautiful as well. But the RC350, I think, is a great looking car that's going to age really well over time. I think ever since they were first introduced, I think they've aged fantastically, frankly put. But I'm getting off topic. I'm talking cars during a cigarette review. I just got distracted real quick. Without further ado, though, let's go ahead and get one of these cigarettes out and take a look at what the Cheyenne Red Cigarettes from the United States actually look like, what they feel like, what the quality of them is like. And let's go ahead and start off with smell, I do think. Overall, I'm getting a slightly woodsy. I'd have to say, brown sugar. Trying to think what the smell of this cigarette is. I'm gonna put my sunnies on real quick because it is getting a bit sunny. Has been a bit sunny throughout this video, I will acknowledge. Overall, smells pretty good though. Has a interesting sort of almost baking smell to it, I'd have to say. I'm very much getting a smell of that of, I'd have to say, I smelled a little bit wood at the very beginning. I'm not really smelling any of that anymore. But I'd have to say I'm getting almost sort of a ginger snap, sort of brown sugar molasses smell with maybe a little bit, the tiniest bit of chocolate in there. Yeah, overall I'm sort of getting, I'd have to say ginger snap, brown sugar molasses, a little bit of sweetness, of course, coming from that, plus maybe a little bit of chocolate as well. I don't want to say 100% whether there's actually chocolate in there or not. I just kind of feel like I'm smelling that. But yeah, overall, these cigarettes smell really good. They definitely smell better than I was expecting, in all honesty, especially for a pack of cigarettes this cheap. These definitely smell better than I was expecting, frankly put. Overall, look-wise, these are pretty basic. We can see just white paper with horizontal lines going all the way across, as is pretty much standard for American cigarettes. And then we just go to a cork-style filter. The cork-style filter itself isn't particularly dark nor particularly light. It's just a pretty basic cork-style filter, I will acknowledge. Gold line at the very top of the cork-style filter right there. And that's really all that's going on design-wise for this cigarette. It looks like a pretty basic budget cigarette, and that is because it is. Overall, quality-wise, I do think this cigarette is pretty solid quality, not bad build quality by any means, I will acknowledge. And just taking a look at the blend on the inside, it is a mixture of both lighter and darker tobaccos, making for a, I'd have to say, medium dark blend overall. Overall, looks like a pretty nice blend to me. And I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover about this cigarette before I get it lit up. So I do think, without further ado, I should probably go ahead and get my lighter out of my pocket. And I think I'm gonna let the wind die down just for a moment, and I'm gonna go ahead and get this cigarette lit up momentarily. If the wind wants to die down, though. Nope, it's still going. It's still going. Yes, sir. All right, well, without further ado, y'all, let's go ahead and get this cigarette right here all lit up, and let's go ahead and get to smoking a Cheyenne Red Cigarette for the first time. Yes, sir, yes, sir, you know what I'm saying? And overall, the first hit or two, I gotta admit, these are definitely better than I was expecting. Honestly, I was kind of expecting a chemically taste. I was not expecting a particularly high quality cigarette. But these, initially at least, taste pretty good. Yeah, right off the bat. Interesting. One thing I forgot to look for is perforation on the filter of this cigarette. I'm not seeing any perforation though, so I don't believe there is any. The draw is surprisingly that of a more medium heavy draw than not. It is surprisingly more of a medium heavy draw than not, I will acknowledge. Just taking a look at the other cigarettes in the pack. They do look like they might have been slightly packed down. Maybe not actually. I think it was just the cigarette I got out. But, yeah, I'd have to say, overall, the airflow itself is definitely a little bit more tight than not. Not quite as tight as something like, let's say, an American Spirit or Your Mom Last Night, but definitely, I mean, like, I'd have to say the airflow is tighter than not. And due to the combination of the tight airflow and due to the lack of perforation on the filter, these definitely come across as being as having, to say it correctly, these definitely come across as having a more heavy draw and airflow than not. So yeah, slightly constricted airflow. I'd have to say that of a medium heavy draw. Roughness and smoothness wise, definitely a very solid mid 3 out of 4 right now. Definitely like a 3.5 out of 4 roughness smoothness wise. Definitely not the smoothest cigarettes in the world by any means. And overall strength wise, I'd have to say these are very much a mid 3 out of 4 as well. They're definitely giving me a little bit of a buzz. And overall, taste-wise, it's interesting. It's definitely different than I was expecting. I was kind of expecting a classic American cigarette taste, kind of nutty with a little bit of chocolate in there kind of thing. I was kind of expecting that with a little bit of chemical taste as well. But I am not getting that. I'm getting more of a sort of spicy ginger snap, I'd have to say molasses-like taste. With maybe a little bit of nuttiness as well, and that's very much the flavor I'm getting from the cigarettes right off the bat. I may be getting a little bit of a paper taste, but I'm not really super confident about saying that right now. Overall, I gotta admit, based off this one experience at least, I'm actually very impressed with the Cheyenne International, with the Cheyenne cigarettes. Cheyenne International being the company that makes these, makes me misspeak just a little bit. But I'm actually quite impressed with the Cheyenne Reds, I will acknowledge. Now, I have tried the Cheyenne Red filtered cigars before. Not cigarillos, but the Cheyenne Red filtered cigars before. I bought a pack of them when I had like $3 to my name in college. And they were my... that was my pack of cigarettes for about 3 days until I got my check. From work. But these are definitely better than the filtered cigars, in all honesty. The filtered cigars, I mean, like, they did the job. They were something I'd much rather not smoke, but they got the job done kind of thing. But these are definitely better than those, without a doubt. Now, the reason why there's a Cheyenne brand of cigarettes and there's also a Cheyenne filtered cigar as well is due to the fact that, I mean, like, these are a deep discount budget cigarette. They're supposed to be some of the cheapest cigarettes on the market where they're sold. But the Cheyenne filtered cigars, due to the fact that filtered cigars are taxed at a lower rate, are even cheaper than the Cheyenne cigarettes. Although I think the Cheyenne cigarettes definitely, now that I'm trying the Cheyenne cigarettes, they're definitely better than the filtered cigars, that is. And overall, this cigarette, even with the wind kind of coming at me quite a bit, and with it being a bit more windy than not today, even with all that, you know, I gotta admit, they're burning for a good amount of time. Not super fast by any means. very interesting. I'm gonna go and stub this cigarette on the ground, make sure it's all out. It's a bit more windy than not today, and I don't want to cause no fires. I'm gonna go and just get the rest of the tobacco out of the filter, find out where the filter itself actually starts. So I'd have to say the filter itself starts right under the gold line, right about where my finger right here is. So that's where the filter itself starts. The filter at the end is definitely a little bit mushy, I will acknowledge. And we can see there is indeed no perforation on the filter, or in the filter, however you want to say it, due to the fact that there is not really a particularly large ring of white going around the tar. The tar is pretty evenly spread out. And yeah, overall, I gotta admit, first experience with these cigarettes, I'm actually quite surprised. I really didn't have very high expectations for this pack right here, but I'm surprised. I am surprised about the Cheyenne Red Cigarettes. I'm gonna get another one lit up in just a minute. I'm gonna take a sip of water first, and I think I've covered most all I want to say about the cigarettes besides flavor. I kind of want to try to analyze the flavor a little bit more. But I'd have to say overall, you know, from the first experience with the first cigarette at least, there's some bicycles passing by, so I just got a bit distracted. But based off the first experience at least, based off the first smoke I had today, my first ever smoke of the Cheyenne Red Cigarettes, based off that experience, I'd have to say that the airflow itself is a little bit constricted. The draw itself is definitely that of a medium-heavy draw. Maybe not quite as heavy as American Spirits, but definitely surprisingly up there, I will acknowledge. And I'd have to say, overall, roughness and smoothness-wise, very much out of a 3.5 out of 4. And strength-wise, very much out of a 3.5 out of 4 as well. I did forget to test the body, so that is one thing I do need to do with the second cigarette as well. But I don't have too much faith that the body will be massive by any means due to the reduced airflow and draw. I don't think the body is going to be particularly big just because you have to draw in a lot to get a lot of smoke, of course. But I do suppose without further ado, I should probably go ahead and get another one of these, all lit up now, shouldn't I? And I should probably go ahead and get back to smoking and find out just what the flavor of these is really like once and for all. And also, well, find out what the body's like. I do need to take a sip of water though, I almost forgot to do that. Without further ado, y'all, let's go ahead and get this cigarette lit up, and let's go ahead and get back to smoking. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying. It is a bit breezy today, that is for sure. And ooh, pretty nice Subaru Outback. Driving by, got like some BBS looking rims on it. There it is right there on screen. Yeah, it looks pretty nice. It's got some sort of like semi, like not BBS like wire rims, but like other style BBS rims kind of looking on it. I love the color too. The color looks really good. That's a nice car if I do say so myself. I like it. Overall, these cigarettes definitely have a little bit of a spicy taste to them, without a doubt. It's not spicy like a sort of woody spice, although maybe there is a little bit of wood in there now that I'm thinking about it. But it's not like particularly intense. By any means, the woody sort of flavor is definitely not particularly intense. It's more of a sort of ginger snap, sort of spicy flavor in my opinion, which gives it a very sort of bakery taste. Just thinking about comparable cigarettes to this one right off the bat, I'm thinking the Wings Reds, I'm thinking the Double Happiness 1906s from China, I'm thinking the Wave Reds. All of those I'd have to say would be comparable smokes to this one, although of course a little bit different, but comparable overall in strength and flavor. Body, as expected, not particularly big. I will test it again, though. Body, I'd have to say it's that of a smaller body than not. Not quite a medium body, but close to it. Not particularly airy of a body. It might have looked a little bit smaller than it really was, just because the wind wisped it away very quickly. But overall, I'd have to say, due to the draw and airflow from these cigarettes, that the body itself is definitely a little bit smaller than not, without doubt. And it's that of you could almost get a medium-sized body out of it, but you'd have to draw in for a bit. But it's definitely a slightly smaller body than not, but not an airy body, I will acknowledge. And overall, I gotta admit, I'm impressed. I really wasn't expecting these to be as solid as they are, but they really are quite solid. You know, a lot of budget brands like to put premium on the front of the pack, and premium means nothing. It means jack, I'll acknowledge. But gotta admit, for a budget cigarette, these might kind of low-key be a premium quality one. They might not be the highest quality cigarettes out there. These are not as high quality as something like, let's say, a American Spirit, for example. But they definitely are higher quality, in my opinion, than a Marlboro, of comparable quality to a Camel, and of comparable quality to all of the cigarettes I mentioned are comparable in taste and flavor, which are the Wings, the Wave, and the Double Happiness 1906 cigarettes from China. The Wings and the Waves, those are from the United States, not from China, though. I'd have to say there is a little bit of a chocolate taste in there, though. It's not particularly intense, but there is a little bit in there. But overall, I'd have to say the flavor of this cigarette is very much that of a spicy, savory, slightly sweet flavor overall, with undertones of a spicy, sweet ginger snap. Then a little bit of, well, just a little bit of like cedarwood, I'd have to say. And then there's some brown sugar, molasses, and then there's a little bit of nuttiness and a little bit of chocolate as well. Yeah. Slightly spicy, ginger snap, a little bit of cedarwood on some hits, not all, and brown sugar molasses with a little bit of nuttiness and a little bit of chocolate under all of that. I'd have to say that's what the flavor of these cigarettes is really like. And overall, I was thinking with the first one, that I might be getting a little bit of a papery taste, but really, in all honesty, I don't feel like I am. Now, I can say the flavor of these cigarettes overall, they're not the highest quality things in the world. Definitely not as high quality as something like, let's say, an American Spirit by any means, but they are definitely of good enough quality to thoroughly enjoy. And they're better quality than Marlboros, in my opinion, and better quality than Pall Malls and L&Ms, if you ask me. I'd have to say, yeah, the Cheyenne Red Cigarettes from the United States, in my opinion at least, are a better buy than more brand name budget cigarettes like L&M or Pall Mall. And really what the marketing of these cigarettes is they're trying to go for folks who want to smoke a budget cigarette but don't want to pay as much as something like, let's say, an L&M or a Pall Mall, a brand name budget cigarette. These are deep discount budget cigarettes, after all. They're meant to be some of the cheapest cigarettes you can get in your local area. And for being a deep discount budget cigarette, these are really surprisingly good quality, in all honesty. The flavor has a surprising amount of depth. I've gotten no sort of chemical taste, maybe a tiny bit, I'd have to say maybe a tiny bit of paper taste, but really not much, not enough to care about. And honestly, if you're not looking for it, you're not going to notice it. But yeah, overall, I gotta admit, I like the Cheyenne Red Cigarettes from the United States. I do. They're not like my favorite cigarettes ever. I wouldn't say they're in my top 20 or top 20. I wouldn't say they're in my top 10 or top 20 by any means, but I do like these. And if I was looking for a deep discount budget cigarette in the future, I'd buy a pack of these, in all honesty. I really would. Overall, yeah, flavor had a good amount of depth. Not super strong cigarettes by any means, but just enough strength to make you happy kind of thing. Overall, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Nice flavor, good smoke, good quality smoke. Yeah, the Cheyenne and the Cheyenne, I almost said Cheyenne International again. The Cheyenne Red Cigarettes, I'm impressed by them. Overall, did I enjoy the 2 smokes that I had from this pack? I'd have to say I certainly did. They were pretty solid smokes, if I do say so myself. Am I looking forward to smoking the rest of this pack? I'd have to say I am. The 2 smokes I had were pretty solid, and I'm thinking that the rest of the pack is going to be of comparable quality, so I'm thinking probably going to be some pretty good smokes, if I do say so myself. And would I buy this pack with my own money? I'd have to say I would. I'd have to say I would buy a pack of the Cheyenne Red Cigarettes with my own money. I absolutely would. Especially for being a deep discount budget cigarette, one of the cheapest cigarettes you're supposed to be able to buy in your local area. I mean, like, they're pretty good quality. Definitely better quality than other deep discount cigarettes, like something like, let's say, Traffic's, without a doubt, which in their own right are not horrible cigarettes, but these are definitely better. Yeah. Cheyenne Red Cigarettes. I gotta admit, I'm pretty impressed. I'm pretty impressed, I'm not gonna lie. No complaints on my behalf. None at all. Yeah. I think I'm going to be giving these a very solid 3 out of 4. Like, probably like just a solid 3.5 out of 4. Just a base 3.5 out of 4. Pretty solid cigarettes. I'd buy a pack of these with my own money. And I think they definitely deserve a 3.5 out of 4. For me, a 3.5 out of 4, or just a 3 out of 4 in general, means it's a pack that I enjoyed smoking, a pack that is more to my preference than not, and a pack that I would buy with my own money, but it's not like the best thing ever kind of thing. That would be a 4 out of 4. A 2 out of 4 is like, you know, they're okay, they're not to my personal preference, but some people might enjoy them. And a 1 out of 4 is like, this is terrible, never smoke this. I'll acknowledge, I was expecting these to be more like a 2 out of 4. So for these to be a 3.5 out of 4 is a bit of a surprise to me, but I ain't complaining, that is for sure. You find good cigarettes in the most unexpected places. Thank you so much once again to Mr. Fred Scott for having been kind enough to contribute this pack of cigarettes to the channel for me to smoke and make a review of. I really do appreciate the contribution. And I think that's just about all I wanted to say for today's video. Hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video where I smoked and reviewed the Cheyenne Red Cigarettes from the United States. If you guys have indeed enjoyed watching this video, of course, please make sure to like and subscribe for more content. I have my Instagram, my book, my merch, my P.O. box, and my other channels all in the description down below. Go check them all out. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Till the next one, stay safe and peace and have a great one. Yes sir, you know what I'm saying?